Well, it was bound to happen. We've made it all the way to the ugliest period of design, the 1990s. And we have some watches here, both new and actually from the 90s, or watches that throwback from the 90s. And we're going to take a look at them and talk about them. I'm joined by Devin Pennypacker and Griffin Barch. And yeah, let's just jump into it. Let's talk about what these watches are. So let's start with you. This is one of the newest pieces on the table.
Well, before we do, you said ugly designs from the 90s. As 90s babies, Griffin and I are two of the most beautiful men on this planet.
Oh, right.
And I have to kind of stick up for
Thanks for making me feel old. Yeah.
And I would argue it's a wholly underrated decade of watch design.
Absolutely. As we're about to
As someone who matured in the 90s, I got to experience the aesthetics a little bit more than you, perhaps.
But yeah, so we have the new Swatch SCUBAQUA, which after doing a purge and saying I was going to work my way up in my collection, I immediately bought a couple inexpensive watches because I saw really good marketing campaigns for them that looked like jellyfish models. So had to pick one up and try it out and have been enjoying it so far. And obviously it does look very similar to some of the other watches we have on the table, but still has that like unique Swatch design language for sure.
And so this is a recreation or spiritual continuation or something?
Swatch is weird where I don't know. I mean, they have a lot of unique original designs, obviously. But then when they are releasing models like these ones, they kind of pull from a lot of different places. And so some of them they will call out as a recreation model. Other ones they kind of say it's part of an older line. This one, if you look through their catalog, there are other models that look a little bit similar to it. There's some vintage models that look pretty similar, but this is definitely a bit of a newer creation for them.
Okay. Yeah, and obviously it's bioceramic.
Yes.
And well, I mean, look, we said ugly to pull you into the video. Now you're watching.
Right.
This is, I mean, it's a fun looking watch, 100%. It's kind of cool. Yes, it reminds me of the jellies that, you know, Big Lebowski wears on his feet that many of us wore as kids. IMAX as well, another quintessential 90s design.
I had a Tamagotchi that looked just like this.
Tamagotchi. There you go. Yeah. There you go. Okay, now Griffin, you have an older watch in front of you, and this is one that's vintage, if you will.
Yeah, I mean, so this is also a Swatch dive watch, but this is from kind of the early days of Swatch doing dive watches. So this is a SCUBA 200 Irony sine curve. I think these came out around 1999. Okay. My memory of this watch in particular is my dad getting it for Christmas when I was 4 or 5 years old, and me immediately being obsessed with it and staying obsessed with it for the last 25 years. To the point where I finally stole it off his wrist a few summers ago and haven't given it back. And it's everything a vintage Swatch should be. It's bulbous, the proportions are a little strange. It's gotten to the point where it's actually borderline unusable, and I still wear it regularly.
Nice, nice. There's a lot of nostalgia in this piece. And I mean, it's a cool looking piece. Like I said, it's very bulbous. So part of the whole 90s design aesthetic was like the blob, as it's called. You have designers like Karim Rashid, and then you have companies like Oakley, very organic, very smooth forms. Cars that just look like marshmallows. I don't know how to describe them. Still kind of a fan of the original RAV4 though.
A lot of soft edges.
Very soft. Yes. But also like very ergonomic. So it wasn't like without thought. Like this is got a cool, you know, it's got these curves on the side so it can kind of flex with your wrist. I actually really like how this bezel's integrated. I'm not gonna try and turn that.
It's very tough. I did it earlier and you have to like crank
a little caked in there.
Originally it did have little silicone grippies in the bezel. Those have all worn away over the last 2+ decades. So it was at one point easier, but it is a 60-click bezel. When you actually can get the action to go, it's surprisingly precise and good for better part of 30-year-old Swatch dive watch.
It sounds better than, I'll put it by the microphone, but like it's a lot of plastic.
It's a plasticky click for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, it works.
I can give you the taste of this if we can. It's subtle. It's subtle.
It's subtle. It's definitely subtle. Yeah. Okay, in front of me I have a few watches. I think I'm going to leave this one with you to talk about. But I have here a personal watch, and the watch, this actually came out last year, I believe, to an unduly small amount of fanfare, I should say, because this is a very unexpected release, sort of paying homage to the Sportura chronographs from the 90s. Some people call these some of the ugliest watches ever made. I call it one of the greatest. So, I mean, it is a rad watch. It was actually a very complicated movement. There's a lot to know about and like about this watch. Full titanium case, but you can see that very smooth sort of design to it, the kind of organic flow, and maybe just like a sort of breaking of traditional watch rules.
Yeah.
Definitely sporty, a lot of textures, and very cool.
Yeah, it's definitely of an era of SEIKO that I think they've maybe moved away from. And it's cool to see them starting to re-embrace it with a watch like the one you have next to it.
Yeah. I mean, so, they brought it back in a sense with a movement that simulated that 4 sub-dial design. Unfortunately, I don't think these are terribly popular. So I don't know if we're going to see much more from there. But like I said, I really liked it. The case on this, though, didn't quite bring the drama.
It's a bit generic for what the display is, which is interesting. But if SEIKO is not going to carry the mantle, at least we see other brands are going to.
Yeah, so they went, they did the hardest part. They made the movement, and they didn't do the rest of it.
Yeah.
But then this is, the newest tied with that watch on the table, similar colorway. What is this thing?
Monster, the GShock. I had to write it down. It's the GAV01-9A. Because it's a GShock and they are very convoluted with their naming. But I mean, this thing looks like your wrist got slimed, pulled straight from Nickelodeon in the 90s. Very interesting new hands that are actually held in by magnets. I don't know if you've gotten a chance to play with it, but we stole it from Ricardo, our shop manager, who instead of handing it to you, he throws it to you from across the room so you can kind of see what happens with it.
That's just like the GShock salute. You just throw your watch at somebody.
But now, even better than before, these hands, because they're magnetic, basically kind of separate to absorb the shock. And then eventually when the time catches back up, the magnet clicks back in and keeps the hand moving, which is kind of weird. But at almost 50 millimeters in diameter, it's not a subtle piece, that's for sure.
Yeah. And it actually, those hands add an extra element to the classic throw across the room, because then Ricardo had us literally smashing it in our hands to get the hands to separate.
And these teeth are not as soft as you might expect. You feel them when they hit you in the hands.
Same thing with the nubs on the side. I was sort of like pushing on them. Oh, they do stuff too. This thing is insane. So this is not actually a remake of anything. It's inspired by the ball concept or something that was behind the original GShock sort of theory, and with a little bit of like high C ecto cooler, perhaps coloration here. This is very nostalgia inducing, very like Saturday morning cartoon vibes for me.
It's a can of slurge. It's,
Feels like a watch I remember existing despite never having existed.
Well, that was the thing. I thought that this was a remake because it felt that way, right?
It might have come in a Happy Meal at some point, but on a smaller scale.
Yeah. I mean, I can't help but kind of love this.
It's so fun. It's super cool. And that's true of all of the watches we're looking at, right? Like it's the whole theory of it's so ugly that you love it. And that is kind of what these are. These are meant to be a bit of a laugh. They're meant to be, maybe apart from the SEIKO, but they're meant to be a bit of a laugh and to be a bit of fun. And they're awesome to just kind of throw on when you start to take yourself a little too seriously. I think we fall into that rabbit hole sometimes of getting a little bit too serious about the watches, which, I don't know, they're kind of an unimportant part of our life, but very important to us personally. So
unimportant, it's only our careers.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and this watch again, it's a watch that Casio took very seriously. Mm-hmm. Again, like the Swatch, it's got a really ergonomic design. It is really well thought out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. The protrusions are actually really functional buttons. They're easier to interact with than you see on a lot of digital watches.
I prefer nubs. These are definitely nubs. These look like Shrek ears. Like, I don't know what's going on here. But these two are also not functional. These are screws to hold the case in.
Okay. So it's like a two-part.
Yeah. Just because why not add two more? It's a laugh. It's a laugh in a watch. And for $140, sure, it's not the most inexpensive thing out there, but is there anything as crazy for $140?
I mean, well, yeah, that's what you're saying. Like, it's not the most inexpensive thing. We're also talking about interesting magnetic shock tech. Like,
true, yeah.
And G-Shocks go up to 5K, and the ones that are 5K are more material driven. It's not necessarily like the module that's doing something, however, $4,500 more crazy, right? It's like, so it's actually, I mean, a pretty awesome watch. Yeah, I love that idea of like, especially for enthusiasts of watches that like make you take a step back and just sort of like, I don't know, appreciate how absurd we are, perhaps, or appreciate the fun of this all again.
This is insane.
Now that I put this on, I could 100% see getting one of these. No, well, guys, I think we've covered this as much as we probably can for now, or as much as our viewers can stand. But I think it'll be very interesting to see where this goes if it continues.
There's a GShock Croc that just came out, so who knows what's gonna happen in the universe.
Yeah, who knows? Well, let us know what you think of this. Are you excited for this trend? Are you ready for it to pass like so many others? Thank you for watching, and like and subscribe if you wouldn't mind.